So last week, as I listened to Matthew and Julia, a couple of things stood out to me. Julia mentioned how much she has been enamored with the tabernacle and how Yahweh is in the details. I feel the same way. Years ago, I heard that a church in Charlotte was hosting a life-size display of the tabernacle with all its furnishings. I took my grandchildren to see it, and that experience made a big impression upon me. Another time, Mike Clayton brought a life-size exhibit of the tabernacle furnishings to my congregation. We were encouraged to walk through prayerfully to the altar of sacrifice, the bronze laver, the menorah, the table of showbread, the altar of incense, and then to the mercy seat. Each morning, as I arise, my practice is to go to the temple, and I start at the altar of sacrifice, at that execution stake where Yeshua died and bled, and I confess my sins. Then I go to the laver. I ask him to wash me in the water of the word. I proceed to the menorah. And as I bow down, I remember what it stands for. And then I go to the table of showbread and ask Jesus to fill me with the bread of life. And then I go to that altar of incense and lift up thanksgiving and praise. It's just a wonderful way to start my day. So today, our Torah portion is Beha'alotcha. When you set up Numbers, I'm going to start with Numbers 8, 1 through 4. Adonai said to Moshe, "Tell Aaron, when you set up the lamps, the 7 lamps are to cast their light forward in front of the menorah." Aaron did this. He lit its lamps so as to give light in front of the menorah, as Adonai had ordered Moshe. Here's how the menorah was made. It was hammered gold from its base to its flowers, hammered work, following the pattern that Adonai had shown Moshe. This is how he made the menorah. Matthew spoke last week about the pattern of 7s in the Bible. He pointed out the 7 days of creation and the 7 days of the week, with the 7th day Shabbat, the 7 feasts of Yahweh, and the 7 years in the Shemitah cycle, when the lamb was to rest on the 7th year. We can add the 7 colors of the rainbow that represent Yahweh's covenant with Noah, and the 7 churches of Revelation. I believe Yahweh, our creator and teachers, gives us symbols to help us make associations and to help us remember important points. The menorah is one of them. This is a picture here of my grandson. We took him to Israel on his 13th birthday, and that is actually a solid gold menorah. And it shows you from where he's standing, it is huge. If you've seen it, it is so impressive. Now, I made this flag several years ago, and there's a mistake in it. Can you hold it up a little higher? I don't know if you can see it, but each of the branches is supposed to connect with the main branch, the shamash. Dr. Halissa Elwine uses the menorah in her teachings called the Creation Gospel. She begins by placing the 7 spirits of Yahweh on the candlesticks. Isaiah 11:1. But a branch will emerge from the trunk of Yeshai. A shoot will grow up from its roots. The spirit of Adonai will rest on him, the spirit of wisdom, understanding, counsel, power, knowledge, and fearing Adonai. So, I'm getting hung up on this. So the shamash, the main candle, would be the spirit of Adonai, wisdom, understanding, counsel, power, intimate knowledge, and reverent fear. We can also place the 7 feasts with Pesach, unleavened bread, first fruits on the side, which are the spring festivals, that's on that side, and place Shavuot in the center. Then we have the fall feasts of trumpets, atonements, and Sukkot on the other side. So I'm going to show you something. It's really cool. So, if I fold the menorah, you will see 4 candlesticks. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 will match up at the end, and they are the first and 7th feasts, Passover and Sukkot, with Shavuot in the center. These are the 3 Chag feasts, or foot feasts, where the men were supposed to go up to Jerusalem. Okay, thank you, ladies. The menorah was placed inside the holy place to provide light. In Leviticus 24:3, we read these instructions. Outside the curtain of the testimony, in the tent of meeting, Aaron is to tend the lamps before the Lord from evening till morning continually. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. Part of the tending would involve filling the lamps with oil. So where does the oil come from? I have a couple pictures of the Nazarene village to show to you. This is my grandson. He really kind of fell in love with that donkey, but he was a part of the scene there where they reenacted the crushing of the olives. And the next one, you can see the olives in a basket, and up there in the top one, you'll see 2 stones, and those were weighted stones. Some were lighter, medium, some were heavy stones. This takes me to one of the parables of Yeshua that has to do with lamps, Matthew 25:1. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps but did not take any oil with them. The wise, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough to both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." But while they were on their way to buy oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. "Sir, sir," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "I tell you the truth, I don't know you." I'm sure that not one of you who just listened to this parable wants to miss out on the arrival of the bridegroom. The question then is, how do we make sure that we have oil? I will suggest to you that is through enduring suffering. Just like this picture shows the different weighted stones, the deeper the crushing, the purer the oil, the brighter the flame. This can be true of our own lives. The greater the hardship, the purer the oil, and the brighter the light to shine in a dark world. I would like to share you an example of this heavy suffering from my own life. 1 year ago, I was in the deepest pain I had ever experienced in my 73 years of life. I needed help in a congregation of believers who I could meet with on Shabbat. I began attending FIT because I had a trusted friend here, Al McCarn, and he spoke so highly of the leadership in the congregation. The second week I was here, I noticed my friends Ed and Evelyn, and they assured me that this was a good fellowship, and they'd been coming here for over 10 years. So I decided to trust this congregation, and I jumped in because for me, it was life or death. I was in deep grief over the loss of my husband, and it's so, I guess not strange, but today's my anniversary. And it's the second one I've been without him. And here's what helped me and how I see it relating to the 5 wise virgins. I took advantage of the people here who had a heart for prayer. Not only did they pray for me, they held me in their arms and they shed tears with me. They prophesied over me and helped me to have hope for my future, that I was not alone. That is an important detail. In the parable, it was not one wise virgin, it was 5. And I believe that as a group, they could encourage each other through the battles and the pain. In Ecclesiastes 4:9, it says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. The other 5 virgins may have said, now these are the ones with no oil, I'm not putting up with this. There must be an easier way. You can fill in the blanks to imagine what they may have turned to ease the pain. I think you can narrow it down to this. Stubborn pride and independence can lead to our light and our testimony going out. Back to our Torah portion, Leviticus 24:4. The lamps are on the pure gold lampstand before the Lord must be tended continually. Our suffering doesn't end in this lifetime. I don't mean that we won't have a future without the suffering, but while we're in this body, in this lifetime, we're going to suffer. And we cannot let our guard down lest we fall asleep and wake up too late. How do we endure suffering without complaining? I believe it is by remembering the hope that is set before us in scriptures like this, Romans 8:17. Now, if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ. If indeed we share in his sufferings in order that we may also share the glory. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Hallelujah. That glory is being revealed in us as his light shines forth in those who trust him.